What? Wilmer? Where's Will? Is Wilmer like in a mariachi band?
In the glittering chaos of early 2000s Hollywood, two names defined the party scene: Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan. Cameras captured them arm in arm, leaving exclusive clubs on Sunset Boulevard, bathed in flashing lights. To the public, they were inseparable, the it girls of an entire generation. But beneath the sparkle, something darker lingered. By 2004, Lindsay was riding high on the global success of Mean Girls, while Paris had become the reigning socialite of the simple life. Paparazzi photographs painted a portrait of sisterhood, but whispers in tabloids hinted otherwise. In May 2006, a TMZ video showed Paris laughing as her friend Brandon Davis hurled the infamous firecrotch insult at Lindsay, a moment that would live in infamy. This was no longer just gossip. The carefully staged illusion of a glamorous friendship was unraveling in real time. Were the smiles outside clubs authentic, or just another act for cameras desperate to sell the story of party princesses united? Everyone wanted to believe the fairy tale. But was this bond ever real, or was it simply Hollywood's cruelest performance? Next, we rewind to the beginning. The rise of two icons and how the media machine sold the illusion of friendship to the world. Before the feud, there was the fantasy. Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan first moved within the same orbit of Hollywood nightlife in the early 2000s. Paris, the hotel heiress turned reality TV star, had launched into the mainstream with The Simple Life in December 2003. The show, co-starring Nicole Richie, turned her into a cultural phenomenon. At the same time, Lindsay had cemented herself as the breakout face of her generation. In April 2004, Mean Girls hit theaters, earning over $129 million worldwide and branding her as the queen of teen comedies. Together, they represented two faces of early 2000s celebrity: the heiress and the ingenue. For the paparazzi, it was a perfect match. Photographers stationed outside LA's Hyde Lounge or the Chateau Marmont knew that if Paris appeared, Lindsay was not far behind. The tabloids, hungry for narratives, began pairing them together in glossy spreads. People ran a 2005 photo feature captioned, "Hollywood's New Best Friends." Us Weekly placed them side by side on its cover, framing them as the ultimate party princesses. Public outings cemented the illusion. At red carpet events, their stylists coordinated looks that echoed each other: metallic mini dresses, oversized sunglasses, streaked blonde hair. On late-night talk shows, they were often booked back-to-back, giving the sense of an inseparable duo dominating the same era. In June 2005, Lindsay was photographed leaving Paris's birthday bash at Club Element. The images spread online within hours, fueling the sense of a glittering sisterhood. The entertainment industry itself leaned into the image. Paris, preparing to release her self-titled debut album in 2006, was eager to appear aligned with other rising stars. Lindsay, shifting between film roles and her own foray into music with the 2004 album Speak, benefited from being photographed alongside someone already branded as Hollywood royalty. In a media landscape where MySpace and gossip blogs were exploding, these orchestrated appearances acted as free promotion. But the machinery went beyond coincidence. Publicists understood that pairing the names Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan in headlines guaranteed clicks. It was a commercial narrative. Two beautiful young women, both controversial and adored, living fast and breaking rules together. A 2005 New York Daily News column put it bluntly: "Lindsay and Paris are the money shot every photographer is chasing." The public swallowed it whole. For fans, the sight of them stepping into a limousine together was enough to prove a bond existed. For magazines, a cover story about their girls' night out sold copies in record numbers. And for Hollywood itself, the illusion was profitable. Paris and Lindsay symbolized an entire era of excess, glamour, and chaos. From nightclubs to award shows, from album launches to paparazzi ambushes, the image of their friendship spread so widely it hardened into something resembling fact. Illusion hardened into truth. Behind the glossy covers and coordinated outfits, there were cracks that insiders had noticed long before the public did. At first, these cracks were subtle, small inconsistencies that only grew more visible under the harsh lights of paparazzi. Flashbulbs. The issue of status was the first wedge. Paris Hilton, born into the Hilton hotel dynasty, had cultivated her brand as Hollywood's self-made heiress. She was not only a reality TV star, but a business venture in herself. Fragrances, endorsements, and the iconic 2004 Confessions of an Heiress book. Lindsay, by contrast, was a child star who transitioned into serious acting, with a studio system behind her. By 2005, insiders whispered that Paris considered herself above Lindsay in the celebrity hierarchy, dismissing her as someone trying to climb into the same exclusive circle. Money and control soon deepened the divide. Lindsay's $7.5 million paycheck for Just My Luck, 2006, highlighted her bankability in Hollywood, while Paris was still fighting to be recognized as more than a socialite-turned-reality figure. Reports from Variety at the time noted that Lindsay was commanding salaries that outpaced many of her peers, something Paris privately resented. For an heiress, being eclipsed in actual earning power was a subtle humiliation. Then there were the social alliances. Paparazzi photographs told their own story. In countless group shots outside clubs like Hyde or Les Deux, Paris appeared with Nicole Richie or Kimberly Stewart, while Lindsay often arrived separately. Seating charts at events revealed the distance too. At the 2005 MTV Movie Awards, Paris and Nicole were front and center, while Lindsay sat several rows behind. These patterns of absence became a language in themselves, hinting that the public friendship was no longer matched by private intimacy. Social media, though primitive by today's standards, also contributed to the narrative. In the age of MySpace, blogs, and the first wave of gossip sites like Perez Hilton, Paris rarely mentioned Lindsay, even when tabloids linked them daily. Lindsay's team, meanwhile, attempted to emphasize connections with her film peers, Rachel McAdams, Amanda Seyfried, distancing her from the party girl label that Paris embodied. The silence spoke volumes. Personality differences amplified the strain. Paris's brand thrived on control and curation. She understood how to play to cameras, how to weaponize silence, how to maintain mystery. Lindsay, however, had a more chaotic approach. She alternated between carefully staged photo ops and volatile outbursts. On press tours, Lindsay was known for showing up late, missing interviews, or clashing with directors, while Paris executed the precision of a seasoned media strategist. When the two were thrown together for nights out that stretched until dawn, the tension was palpable. By 2006, the veneer began to slip. A now infamous video published by TMZ showed Paris in a Beverly Hills parking lot alongside oil heir Brandon Davis. As Davis launched into a cruel tirade, repeatedly calling Lindsay a firecrotch, Paris laughed. Though she never spoke the word herself, her laughter was interpreted as endorsement. The clip went viral, a new phenomenon at the time, spreading across YouTube and gossip blogs within hours. The insult became a cultural shorthand for the toxic undercurrents between the two women. The legal troubles only widened the divide. In 2007, both Paris and Lindsay faced DUI arrests just months apart. Paris was sentenced to 45 days in jail, though she served 23. Lindsay, arrested twice in the same summer, entered rehab multiple times. The similarities in their downfall could have united them, but instead, it fueled the sense that they were competitors in a tabloid-fueled race to the bottom. Headlines like the New York Post's July 2007 cover, "Paris versus Lindsay, Trouble Queens," framed them as rivals, not allies. Industry insiders began to comment openly. An anonymous producer told Vanity Fair in 2006, "Paris doesn't see Lindsay as a friend. She sees her as competition, and Lindsay knows it." Even fans began to notice the absence of genuine warmth. Forums dedicated to celebrity gossip filled with threads dissecting every smirk, every missed party invite, every quote that could be read as shade. What began as whispers of tension had become patterns impossible to ignore. The sisterhood narrative was breaking down, replaced by the spectacle of two young women locked in a rivalry that was both personal and professional. Cracks were no longer rumors. If cracks had been forming for years, the mid-2000s delivered the breaking point. What began as subtle rivalry turned into full-blown scandal, captured, packaged, and sold to millions of readers around the world. The moment that defined the collapse arrived in May 2006. Outside a Beverly Hills nightclub, oil heir Brandon Davis, a fixture in Paris Hilton's entourage, launched into a vicious tirade against Lindsay Lohan. Cameras rolled as he mocked her family, her career, and most memorably, her appearance. "Lindsay Lohan is a firecrotch," he sneered. Standing next to him, Paris didn't intervene. She laughed. The footage, released by TMZ, was replayed on television and shared across the emerging platform of YouTube. What might have once stayed a private insult became an international humiliation. Lindsay responded only days later. Cornered by paparazzi, outside the Roosevelt Hotel, she forced a smile and said, "Paris loves me." The line, dripping with irony, was quoted in People magazine under the headline, "Friends or frenemies?" It was a mask of civility, but audiences could see the truth. The bond had fractured beyond repair. Over the following year, the tension turned into open hostility. At the 2006 World Music Awards, Paris reportedly refused to walk the same red carpet slot as Lindsay, insisting her team delay their entrance until Lindsay had gone inside. The Daily Mail ran a front-page story the next morning. Hilton snubs Lohan at awards show. Publicists scrambled to spin the event, but the photographs, Paris, looking away as Lindsay passed, told their own story. The hostility spilled into interviews. In 2007, Lindsay sat down with LUK, and when asked about her relationship with Paris, she replied curtly, "We're not friends." That same year, Paris told a Las Vegas radio station, "I don't even know Lindsay. She's not part of my life." These blunt statements stripped away any lingering illusion. For the first time, both women confirmed what the world had already suspected. The so-called friendship had been more performance than reality. The timing could not have been worse. Both women were spiraling through legal and personal crises. In June 2007, Paris was photographed tearfully leaving jail after serving time for a DUI. Only weeks later, Lindsay was arrested twice for driving under the influence and checked into rehab. Tabloids dubbed it the Summer of the Fallen Stars. Instead of supporting each other, Paris and Lindsay became symbols of a collapsing celebrity culture. Competitors in downfall rather than allies in survival. Fans took sides. On internet forums, hashtags like #ShotTeamParis and Team Lindsay emerged, years before Twitter popularized the idea of Stan Wars. Bloggers and gossip columnists exploited the rivalry, pitting the heiress against the actress. Perez Hilton, then the most influential gossip blogger, ran daily coverage of the feud, drawing millions of clicks with captions that mocked both women. By 2008, the feud had calcified into pop culture history. Comedians referenced it on late-night TV, and Saturday Night Live lampooned the pair as out-of-control party girls. Even their absences became punchlines. When Lindsay skipped Paris's birthday party that year, gossip sites treated it like a geopolitical event. The illusion of sisterhood, once so carefully maintained, was now impossible to resurrect. For Paris, the scandal underscored her reputation as a ruthless socialite who could cut off anyone who threatened her spotlight. For Lindsay, it reinforced the image of a starlet undone by her own chaos. Both became archetypes of a toxic era in celebrity culture. Women packaged as rivals, their humanity lost in the spectacle. What had begun as whispers in nightclubs and subtweets on blogs erupted into a media circus that neither woman could escape. The friendship narrative that had once fueled their fame now defined their downfall. The mask shattered in public. The fallout from the Paris Hilton-Lindsay Lohan feud stretched far beyond paparazzi photos. It shaped careers, altered public images, and left behind a cultural footprint that neither woman could escape. For Paris, the scandal proved both limiting and liberating. Her brand as an heiress party girl solidified, but the perception of cruelty lingered. In 2011, she launched a new reality series, The World According to Paris, hoping to reinvent herself as a more mature entrepreneur. The show was a ratings disappointment, canceled after one season on Oxygen. Critics pointed out that the series couldn't shake off her tabloid legacy. The Hollywood Reporter bluntly titled its review, "Paris Hilton's World Falls Flat." The feud with Lindsay had become shorthand for superficial drama, a stigma that even her later ventures, from fragrances to DJ gigs, couldn't entirely erase. Lindsay, meanwhile, paid a heavier price. Her promising career trajectory collapsed under the weight of scandal. Between 2005 and 2007, she had starred in back-to-back box office hits like Herbie, Fully Loaded, and Just My Luck. But after the feud and her repeated arrests, studios began pulling away. By 2010, insurance companies refused to cover her as a lead actress, making her nearly unemployable in Hollywood. In 2013, Oprah Winfrey gave her a chance at redemption with the docuseries Lindsay. The ratings were initially strong, but interest faded, and reviews noted that audiences had grown tired of the troubled starlet narrative. Public reactions mirrored this divergence. Paris managed to pivot by leaning into the persona she had crafted, self-aware, tongue-in-cheek, even parodying herself in films like Zoolander. Lindsay, by contrast, struggled to escape the shadow of self-destruction. When she attempted a stage comeback in the 2014 West End production of Speed the Plow, reviews were mixed, with The Guardian noting, "The audience is watching Lindsay, the tabloid figure, not Lindsay, the actress." The feud itself became a case study in how celebrity rivalries are commodified. Think pieces dissected its meaning long after the drama faded. A 2012 Vanity Fair article titled "Why America Fell Out of Love with Party Girls" argued that Paris and Lindsay symbolized the rise and fall of an entire celebrity economy built on nightlife, paparazzi photos, and gossip blogs. Media critics pointed out that fans never really knew whether the hostility was organic or manufactured. Was Paris laughing at Lindsay, or was she playing into the cameras? Was Lindsay lashing out, or was she trying to ride the wave of infamy? The ripple effects extended to the projects around them. Mean Girls 2 was released in 2011 without Lindsay, a sequel stripped of its brightest star. Paris's own television comeback attempts fell flat, reinforcing the idea that the feud had overshadowed both women's creative identities. Even years later, in interviews promoting new ventures, they were often asked about each other, proof that their friendship had become more famous than their individual achievements. For Hollywood at large, the scandal was instructive. It revealed how quickly the machine could pivot from selling best friends to selling frenemies, depending on what sold more copies. In one decade, Paris and Lindsay went from glamorous companions to cautionary tales, illustrating the fickle nature of celebrity branding. By the mid-2010s, their paths rarely crossed, yet the void was palpable. Every absence, the lack of joint appearances, the refusal to acknowledge each other on social media, became a character in its own right. What wasn't said spoke louder than any staged reunion could have. The absence became a character. Looking back, the Paris Hilton-Lindsay Lohan saga feels less like a feud and more like a cultural artifact. Their story captured a very specific moment in celebrity history. When paparazzi ruled, blogs dictated narratives, and friendship itself could be commodified. In many ways, their fake friendship set the blueprint for what would become a recurring Hollywood storyline. Co-stars, musicians, and influencers have since been packaged as inseparable duos, only for tensions to emerge later. The formula is familiar. Sell the image of intimacy, watch cracks form, and monetize the fallout. Decades earlier, the press had pitted Joan Crawford against Bette Davis. Years later, audiences dissected the icy exchanges between Taylor Swift and Katy Perry. But Paris and Lindsay's rivalry unfolded in real time, accelerated by the first wave of digital gossip. Media. Scholars have argued that the scandal marked a turning point in audience literacy. By the late 2000s, fans were no longer passive consumers of glossy magazine covers. They became active detectives, scrutinizing body language, reading subtext, and calling out staged narratives. A 2019 academic study in the Journal of Celebrity Studies noted, the Paris-Lindsay feud was among the first to reveal to audiences the seams of celebrity construction. It taught consumers to question what they were being sold. The legacy also lives in the language of pop culture. The firecrotch insult, though cruel and misogynistic, became a shorthand reference to tabloid cruelty. It revealed how quickly private venom could be amplified into global ridicule. For Paris, the scandal stained her reputation with an aura of cold elitism. For Lindsay, it marked the point where her artistry was overshadowed by spectacle. Together, they embodied both sides of the same trap, the aggressor and the victim, both exploited by a media machine hungry for clicks. Ironically, time softened the narrative. In the 2010s, both women attempted rebranding. Paris leaned into business ventures, launching over 24 perfumes and establishing herself as a successful DJ, headlining festivals from Ibiza to Las Vegas. Lindsay relocated to Europe, opened a nightclub in Mykonos, and later returned with Netflix's Falling for Christmas in 2022. Yet interviews still circled back to their feud, proof that its cultural weight had outlasted careers and projects. The frenemy dynamic also revealed something uncomfortable about celebrity culture. The way women, in particular, were framed as rivals rather than individuals. The media rarely asked which male co-stars were friends, but with Paris and Lindsay, their supposed closeness was sold as a product, and their eventual hostility was weaponized as entertainment. In this sense, the feud exposed both the sexism and the machinery behind early 2000s fame. The legacy of their friendship that never was is therefore double-edged. On one hand, fans look back nostalgically at an era of paparazzi flashbulbs, velour tracksuits, and endless tabloid drama. On the other, there is recognition of how exploitative the entire ecosystem was, for the stars, for the fans, and for the culture at large. Paris Hilton herself reflected in her 2019 documentary, This is Paris. Some people were never real friends, they were just part of the show. The line could have been written about Lindsay, but in truth, it spoke to the entire machinery of fame. Today, audiences know better. They recognize the patterns, question the headlines, and debate the authenticity of every red carpet hug. Yet the question lingers. If so much of celebrity friendship is manufactured, can any bond in Hollywood ever truly be real? So now the question remains, was the friendship between Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan ever real? Or was it always just a dazzling illusion staged for cameras? We want to hear from you. Do you believe they were truly friends who lost their way? Or was their so-called bond nothing more than Hollywood PR at its peak? Share your thoughts in the comments and join the debate. If you enjoyed uncovering this untold story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell icon so you never miss the next deep dive into the secrets of fame. Because behind every red carpet smile lies another untold story. And sometimes, The brightest flashbulbs hide the darkest truths.